I've gotten a ton of questions about my little free library, so I figured this would be a great time to make a video and just kind of yap about it. If you're not sure what a little free library is, it's actually a nonprofit organization, and their mission is to just expand the accessibility of books and reading in different communities. So I first got into a little library, or first figured out what it was, I think when I was in Dallas about 2 or 3 years ago. I was like immediately hooked. I've always been a reader, always loved reading and all book things. Now we're renting our house, so this did give us some limitations. However, I was like, if we're moving into a home, I want a little free library, because I had been eyeing these up for literally months at this point. So my first step was just kind of researching. So I joined a Little Free Library group on Facebook and followed the Little Free Library group on Instagram. I got ideas for what I wanted to do for my library and kind of just branched out from there. I made a Pinterest page, of course, and made a whole board of my ideas and what I wanted to do. So that's kind of how I started brainstorming and just figured out what I wanted to do and if I could even do it where I was living. So the next step was finding out what we wanted to do in regards to building or purchasing a little free library. My husband and I are not handy at all. We went the route of purchasing a little free library from their website directly. And with this comes a registration plaque that's on the front of the little library. I'll include pictures and everything in here. But there's a little free library plaque, and that registers you on the Little Free Library site, and then that puts you on the map. So there's a Little Free Library app that you can download, and then people can search the area that they're in or places that they're going to go and kind of see your library there, and they can check in, they can leave a message, and that just kind of helps your library be seen. We had purchased the library. It was a 2-story library. It was already built, but it could be painted and decorated. So what we did was just purchase the box by itself, and we had actually purchased a wooden post because our original plan was to cement it into like a barrel, like a wine barrel or a big planter. Like I said, I rent, so the ideas that I had seen online were digging it into the ground, cementing it to make sure that the post stayed and that it was secure in the ground. We just didn't want to dig into the property of the house that we were renting. So the planter was the next idea. However, we live on a hill, so we weren't able to execute that idea as well. My dad's super handy, so he actually came over and looked, and there was a tree that was perfect to mount it on. He said, we just actually cut up some 2x4 and just measured it to the back of the library and mounted it onto the tree that way. Super easy. Actually, I expected it to be much harder, and it's been about a year now, no issues, knock on wood. So now I had my library, and we figured out what we wanted to do, how to mount it. So now the next thing was for me to decorate and to design the library. So I, like I said, had been storing ideas. I already had a basic idea of what I wanted to do. I found a wallpaper, a peel and stick wallpaper on Amazon months prior. That wallpaper to cover the inside of the library. And then I took that wallpaper to, I believe it was Lowe's or Home Depot, and picked out an outdoor paint to paint the outside of the library to match the indoor wallpaper. So it took me about a month to paint it and let it dry between each coat, do the inside wallpaper, line that up correctly. But then my next step was how was I going to fill the library? So as you can see, I have a ton of books. The first step was going through my bookshelf and just getting rid of all the books I'd already read and didn't need on my bookshelf anymore. So I'd already started a stack of books of mine and my husband's to kind of keep a stash away. And then what I did was I started looking at thrift stores. The most I usually see a book for is like $3 at a thrift store. So I just started stocking up at the thrift store. So I bought this handy dandy cart over here. And this is actually my Little Free Library stock. So when I go and get books, I'll put it all in here, which is separate from my bookshelf. And then that way I know that those are the books to go ahead and restock my library with. So thrift stores is a great place to go and get a book. Second place I look for books is Facebook Marketplace. Yesterday I had actually just posted I had picked up from a girl that lives half a mile away. I picked up 9 books and they were only $10. So there's plenty of deals to be found. Another place that I look for books is a library. They have book sales, guys, all the time. I feel like the library in Morristown where I live, they have them like less frequently and they're not as big, but the one where my mom lives in South Carolina, I'm not exaggerating, like 6 of these bookshelves filled with books. And every time I go there and I'm not flying back and I'm driving and I can actually bring books, I go and spend, they'll like sell them for 25, 50 cents a book. So I always donate more money because we support our local libraries, guys. So I do donate extra money. I feel like I'm like robbing them, but I've gotten tons of great books to stock my library there. So thrift stores, Facebook Marketplace, library sales, you can get books super, super cheap and you're not breaking the bank by stocking up your little library. The other idea is that your neighbors drop off and donate books. That's a whole idea of the little library, is take a book, leave a book. So I get tons of donations. A lot of girls that I work with, when they clear out their bookshelves, they'll donate a bag of books to me. Some of my friends, when they're done with books, they'll drop them off in my library. But I get tons of donations from neighbors. So always keeps my books current. And then I guess, how do I manage my little free library, or steward the little free library? So my library's here, I fill it with books. I try to be extra and fun. As you can see, I have some St. Patty's Day stickers I put for March. I had done some Valentine's ones for February. I haven't really done anything exciting for spring or Easter, but like but the inside of my library is very like flowery, butterfly, so I felt like I could get away with that, you know what I mean? Other thing I do to personalize it is I make bookmarks. So I'm sure you've seen reels on my page before. If you haven't, you can go check them out. But I buy just like standard cardstock from Michael's, or honestly Amazon has them too. And I buy them for different seasons to kind of go with the vibe of the season, and I'll cut them up and put a little stamp on the back for my little library, and I'll throw them in there, and people love them. I have a guest book that I put in there, and the first one got stolen or mistakenly taken. I'm sure it wasn't intentional. But I just made sure I labeled the second one fine, and I leave a little notebook in there, and I get tons of messages from neighbors and people checking out the library, which is really fun. I really enjoy going in there and reading messages from everybody. And that's it. And then I made a bookstagram, which was the last part of it. And it's just grown exponentially over the last, I put my library up in August and opened up my little free library bookstagram at the same time, and it's been so much fun and I'm having such a blast. So if you have any other questions or I missed anything, please feel free to leave a comment. But that's about it. And I hope that I encourage some of you to open a little free library, because I literally am obsessed. It's one of my favorite hobbies in the entire world. And I know favorite isn't a word, blah, 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 but I'm gonna keep this in here because I'm a spaz, and I'm about to go to the cherry blossoms in Newark with my girlfriend. So I'll see y'all later.